Welcome to Literati Press. I wanted to do another reading. It's been a little while, but life has been crazy. But we are going to read Far From the Tree. Just finished it. It's Robin Benway, and this has been kind of all over. It's a National Book Award winner. So you might have already seen it, and if you haven't picked it up, you should. It's a really hard time right now. A lot of people are dealing with a lot of stress and uncertainty, and this is one of those books where it promises you an emotional ending that is going to be not entirely like wrapped up and clean, but at least satisfying, kind of in that John Green kind of way. And if you need a good cathartic cry, there's a good book for it. So this is about three children put up for adoption. Two of them find their way into permanent families, and one of them bounces around the foster system and is told from their three perspectives. They didn't know each other until recently. They're now teenagers and are beginning to connect for the first time. So this, what I'm going to read, is in the middle of a chapter from Joaquin. He's the one boy, the other two are girls. And he is talking about his current foster family. He has been bouncing around his entire life, and this is just the latest of the foster families. They had asked him last night when he was sitting at the kitchen table putting his new wills on his board. They sat down across from him holding hands, and Joaquin knew immediately that they were asking him to leave. It had happened 17 times before, so he knew the signs well. There would be excuses, apologies, maybe even tears, never Joaquin's, but it always ended the same way. Joaquin put in his few things in a trash bag and waiting for a social worker to pick him up and take him somewhere new. Once, a social worker had brought him an actual suitcase, but that had gotten ruined at the next home when two of the other kids got into a fight. Joaquin preferred the trash bags. That way, he had nothing to lose. Joaquin, Linda started to say, but Joaquin interrupted her. He liked Linda, and he didn't want one of his last memories of her to be full of quivering excuses and weak reassurances. No, it's okay, he said. I get it. It's okay. Just, is it because of the car door? Because I could fix it. Joaquin wasn't sure how he could do that. His job at the art center wasn't exactly making him a millionaire, and he had zero idea of how to fix a car dent himself. But hey, wasn't that what YouTube was for? Wait, what? Linda said, and Mark scooted his chair closer to Joaquin's, which made Joaquin sit back a bit. Don't worry about the car, sweetheart. That's not what we want to talk to you about. Joaquin rarely felt off kilter. He had gotten good at predicting what people would do, how they would react, and when he couldn't predict their behavior, he knew how to provoke it instead. The therapist Mark and Linda made him see had called it a defense mechanism, and Joaquin thought that sounded exactly like something that someone who had never needed a defense mechanism would say. But Linda wasn't saying the lines in the script that Joaquin had come to know by heart. Mark leaned forward then, putting his hand on Joaquin's forearm and squeezing a little. That didn't bother Joaquin. He knew Mark would never hurt him, and even if he tried, Joaquin had 3 inches and 30 pounds on him, so it would be a fast fight. Instead, he couldn't help but feel like Mark was trying to keep him steady. Buddy, Mark said, Linda and I wanted to talk to you about something important. If that's all right with you and you're okay with it, we'd like to adopt you. Linda's eyes were shiny and she nodded along with Mark's words. We love you so much, Joaquin, she said. You feel like our son. We can't imagine not making it permanent. The buzzing in Joaquin's head almost made him feel dizzy, and when he looked down at the skateboard wheels in his hands, he realized that he couldn't feel them. He had only felt like this once before, when Mark and Linda had casually, oh so very casually, told him that he could call them mom and dad if he wanted. Only if you want to, of course, Linda had said, and even though she had been turned away from Joaquin at the time, he could still hear the tremble in her voice. Your call, buddy, Mark had added from the kitchen island where he had been staring at his laptop. Joaquin noticed that he wasn't clicking through the website, though, just scrolling up and down on the keyboard. Okay, Joaquin had said, and pretended to ignore their disappointed voices that night at dinner when he called Linda, like nothing had happened that morning. Joaquin had never called anyone mom or dad. It was either first names or, in some stricter homes, Mr. or Mrs. somebody or other. There were no grandparents, no aunts or uncles or cousins like other foster kids sometimes had. And the truth was, he wanted to call Linda and Mark mom and dad. He wanted it so bad that he could feel the unspoken words sear his throat. It would be so easy to just say it, to make them happy, to finally be the kid with a mom and dad who kept him. They weren't just words, though. Joaquin knew in a way that he knew every true thing, that if he spoke those two words, they would reshape him. If those words ever left his mouth, he would need to be able to say them for the rest of his life. And he had learned the hard way that people could change, and that they could say one thing and do another. He didn't think Mark and Linda would do that to him, but he didn't want to find out either. He had once dared to call his second grade teacher mom one afternoon during their math lesson, just to feel how the word felt in his mouth, how it sounded in his ears, but the resulting embarrassment from the other kids had been so sharp and acute that it still burned hot when he thought about it all these years later. But that had just been a mistake. To call Linda and Mark mom and dad on purpose would mean that Joaquin's hearts would form into something much more fragile, something impossible to put back together if it broke. And he would not do that to himself again. He still had managed to pick up all the pieces after last time, and one or two holes remained in his heart, letting the cold air in. So, fantastic book, and it's a wonderful, wonderful ending. Complicated lives, complicated decisions, but a good, hopeful read in a very difficult time. So, thank you so much for listening.